What was the first thing you worked for to save up enough money to buy? Ask Reddit.
13-inch color TV with a built-in VCR. Had to get in a lot of babysitting hours for that bad boy.
I had one of those. I got it as a Christmas gift when I was 13 and held onto it until I was 25. At that point, the remote had stopped working a year prior, the VCR part stopped rewinding, then it just stopped working completely. I tried hooking another VCR up to it, but VHS copy protection made that a bad idea. After college, as I was moving out of the dorm, I pitched it into a dumpster, and someone dove in and pulled it out.
This made me think of 9/11s. I was in college in my dorm watching my 13-inch TV VCR combo when the planes hit. I can smell the dorm and feel the plastic of the TV when I close my eyes and think of this. I had lost the remote. I remember reaching to turn it up when the breaking event began.
An original Game Boy. I cut lawns for a summer to save up for it. Excellent. In '84, age 14, I worked 5-9 p.m. Monday-Friday in our local video shop for a year to buy a Sony Walkman WM22. I still have it. Finding it in a box in the loft this morning prompted my question.
For me, it was an N64. Took about 16 weeks of doing my newspaper route. Totally worth it. I still have mine as well.
I saved up money for an NES with Mario 3 when I was a kid. I remember my brother was about 3 or 4, and he had $20 to contribute. He said something like, "If I give you my money, can the Nintendo be part mine?" I said no. I'd been saving for so long that I just wanted it to be my very own. I look back on that all the time now, and feel like a selfish prick. For the record, she still played it all the time. I think we both came out on top. Still makes me feel slimy though. Edit, he is still a he.
Don't feel bad. You still shared when you had it, and I can imagine after saving for so long and having the idea in your head that it was going to be yours and yours alone, you didn't necessarily want your brother coming in and time sharing it. And for all you know, when you got it he might have said, "It's part mine, if I want to play it all day then I will, haha."
I same with the paper route except bought a GameCube. Still have it today.
None, he dreamt his dreams and whispered, soon.
My first saved up purchase was a radio/tape/CD player boombox in 1998. Worked all summer long doing poo jobs at a boatyard, scraping tar/bottom paint, cleaning up the yard, trying not to touch too many toxic things. Good times. I still have it. It was the same one that the gang is using while stoop sitting and rocking out to Bismarcky on an episode of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, LOL.
I will never forget the feeling of going to a video store on a Friday night to stock up on movies and snacks for the weekend.
I did the same for a Game Boy Color when they came out. Was so proud to dump all my hard-earned money on the counter, haha. Shortly after, I set it down on a table at my mom's office while I went to the bathroom. When I came back, it was gone. One of her co-workers stole it. Never found out who it was, never got it back.
That is F-ed. I hate that person for you.
Adults stealing from adults is F-ed up, almost always, but stealing from a child is just incomprehensible to me. I saved up for a skateboard, proper custom skateboards from a skate shop, I guess we're really expensive, I don't remember, and saved from raking lawns then shoveling snow, and got an extra bit to finally have enough with my birthday money in February. I got a super nice Element deck that was all decked, out in every way, from grip tape to wheels and bearings. All that plus the upcharge they likely do made it take up most of my budget. I skated on it for like 2 weeks then left it at the top of my steps leaning against my front doors, townhomes with raised porches, and it got stolen the one night I left it out. I was broken up really bad for a while and didn't skate again as everyone kinda moved on without me while I waited months to save up for another, so I just gave it up. Turns out an adult neighbor stole it and a friend in the neighborhood who stayed there and talked to him later was told the story by him. He still said hi and stuff to me and I never would have guessed it, but damn, that's F-ed up.
People effing suck. I had a Discman stolen out of my backpack during class in 9th grade and it was never found. Still mad about it.
Oh man. Skeptical smiley. My brother left his Tamagotchi, SP, on a restaurant table, and realized about 30 seconds later as we were leaving. My father ran back in and there was someone clearing the table. My father said my son left his Tamagotchi toy here, and the guy said, "Oh, right," and took it back out of his pocket. Infuriating. None.
Supervillain origin story.
Damn. Sad smiley, did you at least get a new Game Boy or something? This poo sounds heartbreaking.
89 I would smuggle that brick into school and play it in ISS, in school suspension.
I did the same thing for my Game Boy Advanced. A trumpet. Professional brand silver trumpet. I wish I still had it, but it was stolen.
Boxstrad?
I still have mine, but I suck.
You're supposed to blow.
Beautiful.
Tush.
Told my mom if she wanted me to keep practicing she had to buy me my own trombone. I wasn't sharing the dinged up school ones, what an entitled little poo I was. She got me a Boxstrad silver with the F/ attachment, she was a music teacher. I was like F. So I held up my end of the deal, and practiced like 1.5-2 hours a day, and beat all those seniors out for first chair my fresh year. Edit, it was the Big Bore 42. Edit 2, made it to the State Youth Symphony, and killed it there. Edit, my mom was a private piano teacher, and taught at a public school. I did have private instruction. My family was intertwined with the local music talent. Our camping buddy eventually was my high school band teach. The car stereo shop that I spent all my time at was owned by students of my fishing mentor. That fishing mentor was at my house constantly BC they wanted a relationship my single mom, and had also taught the car stereo shop people in band, as he was a music teach also. I had music instruction at every moment of my childhood. Picked trombone BC the parents, classmates of my mom, of that viral skateboarding cop from Seattle you have seen gave me a place to stay while I went through chemo, while I had cancer, as a child. He played trombone and skated and was obsessed with MJ, and that is why I skate and play basketball and trombone. Yo Craig, I know you're being the best officer you can be in these times. PM me if you are here. You were my idol, bro.
That's pretty cool, and impressive that you had that kind of reflection and discipline so young.
Same. Silver trumpet professional with 3 mouthpieces from Yamaha. Won several solo concerts with it. Sold it when I joined the army.
Zeno. That was my first professional trumpet. Edit, didn't even notice your username at first.
Renting my first apartment rather than sharing.
Must have felt nice to have full control of when the dishes are done.
LOL, I regret having this power.
I've been living on my own for 5 years, and I still don't understand how I generate so much housework alone in my 1-bedroom apartment.
F relying on people for a living situation. It's the worst, but rent keeps going up and wages are stagnating. I am one who doesn't have a choice. Can't afford the $750 a month going rate to rent an efficiency in my city, can't afford a down payment to buy. Just it feels good, man.
I'm working a full-time job making $15 an hour and still can't afford my own place. I can't get approved because I don't make 3 times the rent for an $800 studio apartment.
26/HR and in a coastal city. Same.
When I had this issue I offered to prepay an extra month or 2 ahead if time. Look and see if that's a possibility. Otherwise, renting a room in a house perhaps?
$750 a month, Jesus. I would kill for $750 a month. My city is $3,000 plus a month for rent for our space needs. We are moving out of this city when our lease is up.
Our city is headed this direction, and it's nauseating when I think about it. I started renting in 2010 and places were between $4,600 for a decent 2-bedroom. Now they are about $1,500, yes that's triple in 10 years, despite our state having some of the lowest average pay in the US. Please, please everyone stop moving to Boise.
This is also a problem. The rest of the country hates us because we move out of our hole into their city. I'm looking at the subreddits for the city I am moving to, and they are constantly talking about how much they hate people from my city. But like, what am I supposed to do? I can't afford to keep living here. Don't take it personally. People just don't like change. California takes a lot of heat where I live for driving up housing prices over the last decade or so, but our highways are full of recent transplants from every corner of the country. Everyone wants the benefits of a booming local economy without the increased population to drive it. I wish you the best, wherever you're headed. Just support local businesses when you can, be a considerate driver, and avoid too many unflattering comparisons to the X type of cuisine that was so much better in SF. I think a lot of people are going to be on the move this year by choice or necessity, so you certainly won't be the only one settling in somewhere new. I got a remote job and moved to a small town. The mortgage /taxes on my 4BR house on 10 acres is less than half of what my putty apartment in NYC cost. Biggest raise I ever got was getting away from the city, from utilities, to insurance to food, everything costs less. It's like my income doubled.
Where TF do you live for rent to be $3,000 a month?
California probably.
Northern California. The Bay Area specifically. It's brutal here. Everyone needs multiple roommates or they still live with their parents at nearly 30.
Yeah, I'm also in Norcal and I'm sharing a teeny tiny apartment with 3 other people. All of us work full-time and yet we can only afford 25% of an apartment. Skeptical smiley.
I live out in the far East Bay. My husband and I rent the cheapest 1-bedroom apartment we could find. It's 465 square feet. Built in 1970 and it shows. Insulation has never been redone, windows are all single pane, so it boils in the summer and freezes in the winter. Don't even have our own dedicated hot water heater, hot water is shared across the complex so we frequently don't have any. $1,600 a month. That market is insane. I was offered a job there fresh out of my bachelor's, and they only wanted to pay me $15 an hour. Instantly declined because there's no way in hell I could have survived on that.
Knew I wanted it and knew I couldn't afford it. I planned so thoroughly, I am incredibly proud of it. Had to get my first credit card, which was incredibly difficult for someone on working visa, even though I had a stable decent paying job, and establish a good credit score within 6 months. Research all the furniture I will need, moving costs, and saving up for it all. Setting a budget in advance for all living expenses, figuring out how much I could spend on groceries and fun. In the end what I found was over my budget, but it was nice and there weren't a lot of cheaper options. I took the plunge, lived a bit in poverty for a couple months but ended up getting a promotion and could then live comfortably.
My very first car. It was in 1998, I was 19 years old when I bought it. A 1987 Chevy Camaro. It needed some work, it looked like poo, but I loved that car. My friends liked it as well. My sister's friends all told me it was garbage, but their parents bought them newer cars that they didn't appreciate.
I was the same way with my first car I bought in 1985 at age 16. It was a 1978 Chevy Chevette, and not the best looking thing, but it ran and got me my independence. A lot of other kids my age were having new cars bought for them, but they didn't appreciate them the same. Was nice to know parked in school parking lot, that I in fact owned the title to my car, not my parents. Asterisk 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 edit. Here is photo of it below https://imgur.com/pcamu.
My father told my mother when they were first meeting that he owned a vet. She assumed a Corvette. He picked her up in a Chevette. He has a great personality.
My father had a kinda snobby co-worker who always complained about his kinda old car if they had to drive somewhere for work. He then asked her if a red Porsche two-seater would be more in her favor. It never came to it, but he would have borrowed one from a friend. This one, https://www.classicdriver.com/sites/colourbox/public/cars_b7431cfb075408.jpg. Not that exact model, but you get the point.
Chevy Chevette. I thought you were joking when I read that. Didn't know such a car existed. The name sounds like a memed out version of the Corvette.
The Chevette is still the greatest car in stories. You can tell people you totaled a vet, and they immediately picture one thing, then you explain you replaced it for $200 and they realize what you are talking about.
Which is funny, for like 2 or 3 years after the oil crisis the Chevette was the single best-selling car in the U.S.
I once saw a Chevette redneck monster truck and laughed my ass off.
Black 87Z28W/T-tops, was my first buy in 2001 after working all summer and saving up my money. No AC, tops leaked, but damn if I didn't love that car.
My dad had to sell his '87 Camaro and I saved up and bought it back when I turned 16 in 2007. Made my mom furious, but I was fast, smiley face.
The whole Beatles rock band set. With the drums, mic, and guitar. Only had that job for 3 weeks but got enough to buy it and was beyond happy.
May I ask what the job was?
Just an employee at Dairy Queen.
A TV for my bedroom. I wanted one when I was 13, and my parents said that was fine as long as I paid for it myself, so I got a job picking strawberries at a local farm. Yes, I got my TV, but I was so sick of the sight and smell of strawberries that it was at least a year before I could even think about eating them again.
I lasted about 2 hours. Made about 25 cents.
My dad said that when he was about that age he got a job at a farm carrying hay bales from one side of the barn to the other. I forgot how many he was able to get throughout the day, but it wasn't a lot, maybe 20. For each hay bale he carried he got paid 25 cents. Yeah, that's a hell no from me, lol.
I think everyone should have a manual labor or customer service job in high school at least for a little while. It'll teach you a lot of humility and the value of hard work. The people that work these jobs are still people and the work is difficult.
Where I live all the jobs here are already taken and snatched up. Good thing they are building a grocery outlet so I can apply to be a stocker.
Yeah, I searched for a job all throughout high school and never got one. I had severe social anxiety, still do, but a bit better now, so manual labor was about all I could hope for. Customer service was out of the question. Options were surprisingly sparse given that I lived next to several fields.
Logically they'd be small bales, and if he could only manage 20 a day from one end of a shed to the other, I'm surprised he didn't get sacked, lol.
It might have been more, like I said I can't remember the exact number. Edit, also small bales make more sense. I was imagining those big ones, lol.
Yeah, a round bale weighs about 1,000 plus pounds, so square bales are only about 75 to 100 pounds. So I guess it just depends on how big the barn was.
What a coincidence. At 13, I wanted to build my first computer for games. I too worked on a farm, and picked a ton of strawberries.
When we were 16 to 17, 5 to 6 of us would go pick berries for the day, usually raspberries, and pool all our money and buy some cases of beer and a big bottle of vodka. A hamster. Not just the hamster, as those costed like $7, but the cage, the plastic hamster ball thing, the bedding, the treats, the works. I named him Sam. He lived to be almost 5 years old and he was the best. My mom helped me figure out how much money food costs, and I made sure I had enough money saved at the time of buying him, to be able to get him food for at least a whole year. My mom didn't think he'd stay alive longer than that.
Wow. Sam lived a long and happy life.
He lived way longer than we thought hamsters could live. He had a great personality too.
None.
Oh yes. Sprog. I can't believe my eyes right now. What a day maker.
Edit. Whoops, didn't mean to reply to the hamster post, but I'll leave it here in Shane anyway. Shame. God, I really F'd this one up. A Sony CD player with FM radio and a cassette player/recorder. It cost $120 in like 1993 and was such a hot deal that I didn't even get one despite standing in line for an hour and had to settle for a rain check, basically an IOU from the department store guaranteeing I'd get one next shipment. Then I got a Coolio, Fantastic Voyage promo CD that had like 4 pooty remixes of the same song because I was 9 and didn't know WTF promo/singles were.
What did Shane do to deserve that?
He might have been with you for a small part of your life, but for him you were his whole life, Red Heart.
Also props to your mom for teaching you to deal with money and responsibility like that, and props to you for taking that lesson and just smashing it out of the park with a very old and happy hammy.
I appreciate you saying this so much I had to text my mom to tell her. She then reminded me about the hamster stripper pole I insisted on putting in his cage. The cage was 3 stories. Sam could take the ladders or a slide. But I wanted something better than that for him. I asked my dad to make a fire station pole for Sam to use if he wanted to get down to the bottom floor. And boy, Sam used it all right. He'd fling himself in the most sultry way around that pole. Thank you so much for this comment. I wouldn't have remembered Sam's striptease without it. I'm laughing so much I have tears rolling down my face.
That's amazing. That's such a cute story and message. I love it.
Those hamster balls are hilarious. My sister and I had a hamster when we were young, and it was so funny to put her in it and just watch her boogie around. Edited because I just remembered how she would sometimes roll into the laundry room and then not be able to get out because of the slanted linoleum strip at the door. We'd hear lots of loud clonking, realize what it was, and one of us would be like, "Chip got into the laundry room," and then we'd have to go lift her out.
Mine was named Peanut and would carry a carrot in his mouth while running. It was so cute.
The sister or the hamster?
I had to look up the average lifespan of a hamster and I wouldn't have guessed it was so low. I would have guessed they probably lived a little longer than 2 to 3 years on average.
A 1979 Gibson Les Paul custom guitar. I paid $400 for it in 1987 and sold it for $500 a few years later after I bought a Fender, which was more my style. Wish I never sold it. It would be worth over $3,500 today, easy.
You got paid $100 to have a nice guitar for a few years? Nice, easy to regret stuff, but sounds like a win when there's no way to know the future anyway.
Yeah, it was a win. It was one of 3 instruments that I sold that I wish I kept, but I don't lose sleep over it. I sold it to a good friend solely because he really wanted and loved that guitar. I was happy that he had it. Even though I sold it for more than I paid for it, it was worth more. I was a bit disappointed that my friend foolishly traded the guitar for a crappy guitar that he got distracted by.
Sounds like that guitar was just itching to move through owners. I like to think it finally found its perfect match after passing through a few more sets of hands. It was sold by the guy your friend traded it to for way less than it was worth to a woman who gifted it to her addicted son, then traded for a baggie of smack, left on hawk at a pawn shop where the guy never paid off the loan, sold to an old man with no kids and nothing to do with his retirement nest egg, sold at the estate sale after said old man's passing, left behind as lost luggage, stolen by an airport employee, traded for a bass guitar, which the airport employee subsequently never learned to play, left at a bus stop, picked up by a cab driver, given to the cabbie's nephew, who then sold it to his friend at school, a young Gary Clark Jr., who was just learning the pentatonic scale. Or something like that.
I'm now deeply invested in the fictitious travels of this guitar.
Fictitious, how dare you?
If it makes you feel better, $500 cash invested in 1987 with a reasonable annual return of 8% would be worth more, around $4,700. Thanks. I was 18 and ended up spending the majority of it on weed. $500 x 420 equals yeah, you're right, I don't feel so bad now. Good way to end the story. LMAO spent it on weed. Clothes. I grew up poor, often going to school with jeans that I grew out of a year ago. They would be tight and would get like high waters while everyone else had well-fitting or baggy jeans. I stood out and I got teased and bullied because of it. When I got to high school, I got a part-time job and started buying some decent clothes. Jeans that fit. Decent shoes, that sort of thing. My first major purchase that actually required saving was a nice leather jacket. Was about $400 roughly 30 years ago, which was several weeks' pay.
Those things were expensive. My punk ass had to save up for mine too.
Food. LOL. I got my first job at 14, as a dishwasher in a bakery. It was about half a mile from the house, and a really nice walk, as we lived in a large city, so there were sidewalks and crosswalks. It was my first job, and the first job I ever really hated. I loved it, too. Cried when I got fired. But I hated the work itself. My hands ached by the end of the day, and my feet would throb. I have very high arches, and didn't have any idea at the time. I loved doing it, though. I loved that I was helping my family, and I loved my co-workers. I eventually got fired because the higher-up boss found out my manager had hired me under the table, something I didn't even know at the time. I used the money mainly to buy groceries and help with the bills. My mom was a single parent, who worked 2 full-time jobs, and raised her own 2 sons, as well as a boy from our neighborhood who had been effectively abandoned by his mother, and my mom raised him for 8 years or so. She also helped take care of our roommate's 2 toddlers, because the roommate, also a single mom, was only working for minimum wage. In addition to all of that, there was a constant line of kids coming in and out of our home, from where one of the kids in our neighborhood needed a place to stay because of an abusive parent, or their parents just didn't care enough about where they were. She would work herself half to death taking care of anyone and everyone she could. She cooked meals for at least 3 different families, for free, because she couldn't stand the idea of someone going hungry, especially a kid. She would get up at 4 a.m. to be to work by 6, her commute was about 1.5 hours, and then when she got home, she'd start her next job on the phones. When all that was over, she'd help kids with their homework while cooking dinner. My mom is superwoman, and I cried when I lost that job, because it meant making her take up the slack yet again. Eventually, I got another job, and we moved somewhere cheaper. Working to help my mom was one of the most fulfilling things I ever did, and watching her struggle and work herself so hard, while knowing how much better she deserved, forged my politics at a young age, as well. Call your mom, folks. They're amazing. Edit ****, thank you. Edit 2 ***, I'm literally crying over here. Y'all are amazing and wonderful and beautiful and kind. The amount of people who have messaged me with such kind things to say is incredible. My mom says thank you to everyone. I love you all. Heavy heart exclamation mark ornament edit 3 asterisk we're okay financially right now. Promises. We're not wealthy by any stretch of the imagination, but we can pay our bills and buy food. The biggest hurdle right now is trying to find a used trailer to move onto some land, and get dental work done for my mom. I promise we'll be alright. You're all such incredible people.
Worked 2 jobs and sold plasma while in college a few years ago to take my then girlfriend and myself to Europe. Neither of us had ever really traveled before, and she was always worried she'd get stuck and never get a chance to see the world. Thought bringing her along was a huge waste of money for the longest time after we broke up, but she died recently and I found out she kept a box of mementos from our trip. In hindsight, I think that was probably the best money I ever spent.
Now these are the kind of gifts I want to be giving.
It's definitely hard to do, but giving people things they always dreamed of having or even experiences will do it.
Pooh, that hits close to home. Did something similar 2 years ago with an ex. She ended up with stage 4 cancer last month and our Europe trip was her last memorable experience.
Pooh, that's rough. Hope you're doing alright. Please hit my inbox if you need someone to talk to.
Life is a bitch, but thanks for being cool to strangers, man.
Well said. That might have been some of the happiest moments of her life.
This comment isn't high up, but that was a great thing you did. I'd like to do the same thing for my girlfriend. Regardless of the outcome of the relationship, it's very special that she kept the memories. Edit, the comment is now high up.
Please do. You never know how much something you do or say will end up meaning to someone.
Keep those memories.
I absolutely will. I did the whole scorched earth thing afterwards and got rid of most of the stuff with her in it. I'm glad I was able to get some of that back.
Memories are never a waste of money.
A year in Japan, saved up $800 for the deposit at the age of 15. Then the program sent a letter asking for the next $3,000 within a month. I was devastated. Couldn't manage it, family wouldn't pay, and I lost my deposit. My Japanese tutor, who I paid, found me a program with a scholarship, which brought the price down to $2,600 altogether. My parents eventually agreed to that one.
My son left last January for 6 months in Japan. We all know how that turned out. He ended up having to come home in March, which was really disappointing. I really hope he gets another chance to go back over for a good chunk of time, not just a short visit.